The very beginning of the modern world started here. You've probably heard the term the Industrial Revolution, but what's easy to forget is just how much it changed the world. Before it, most people lived lives that would seem almost unrecognizable to us today. Travel was slow, communication was slow, production was slow. Most people lived close to where they were born, and they died there too, often never moving far away from home. Then something changed, and a huge amount of that change started in the United Kingdom. The Industrial Revolution transformed transportation, medicine, communication, manufacturing, and eventually information itself. It helped turn Britain into the largest empire the world had ever seen. At one point, the British Empire controlled around a quarter of the Earth's land and population. People used to say, the sun never sets on the British Empire. And whether people see that history positively, negatively, or somewhere in between, there's no denying that Britain helped launch the modern age. So let's take a look at how the UK helped build the modern world. Number one, the steam engine. More than any other, one invention helped launch the Industrial Revolution. Before steam engines, most heavy work depended on humans, animals, wind, or water. Factories were limited. Transportation was limited. Mining was limited. Then came the steam engine. Earlier versions existed before James Watt, but Watt dramatically improved the design in the late 1700s and made steam power practical on a massive scale. By the way, one of its first uses was in mines. Many miners were killed when flooding happened when they were deep underground. The steam engine could pump water out of the mines so they could operate there more safely. After that, with more improvements, steam power could be used for factories, textiles, and other industries. Machines no longer needed rivers to power them. Factories could be built almost anywhere. Production exploded. On the other hand, it also made the air filthy by burning so much coal. It also meant that industrial cities exploded in size. Worker conditions were appalling. Nonetheless, this was one of the key technologies that drove the Industrial Revolution itself. Honestly, it's hard to overstate how much this changed civilization. The modern industrial world begins here. Number two, railways. Before railways, moving goods or people long distances was painfully slow and limited. You could carry goods yourself or load them onto an ox or horse or a wagon, and moving large amounts of goods or people meant using many animals. Think of caravans or wagon trains. Travel that takes hours today could take days. Then, steam locomotives changed all that. Britain became the birthplace of the modern railway system. And railways didn't just move people faster, they transformed economies. Food, coal, steel, mail, newspapers, raw materials, everything started moving more efficiently. Fortunately or not, that also included troops and military equipment, first used to devastating effect in the American Civil War, and especially in World War I, bringing endless new supplies of artillery and fresh troops. And another effect, time itself became more standardized, because railway schedules demanded synchronization. And psychologically, the world suddenly felt smaller. People could travel farther than ever before, more quickly and cheaply. For the first time in history, ordinary people could travel farther than their grandparents ever imagined. Number three, vaccination. This one saved countless millions of lives. Before vaccines, diseases like smallpox devastated humanity for centuries. Now, think about modern anti-vaxxers when you hear this story. Smallpox alone killed enormous numbers of people and left many survivors scarred or blinded. It was arguably the deadliest plague in history, estimated to have killed between 300 to 500 million people. Then in 1796, Edward Jenner noticed something strange. Milkmaids who caught cowpox often seemed protected from smallpox. So Jenner tested an idea that would completely change medicine. He used cowpox material to help create immunity against smallpox. And it worked. This became the world's first successful vaccine. Now, obviously, medicine was primitive compared to today, but this discovery opened the door to modern immunology and vaccinations. Eventually, smallpox became the first human disease to be eradicated globally in a massive campaign that ended in 1980. The needles would leave a little round mark, a scar on your arm that showed you've been vaccinated. Think about that. Humanity completely removed a disease from the earth. Number four, penicillin. For most of human history, even small infections could become deadly. A cut, a scratch, a tooth infection, things we barely think about today could kill you. Then, in In 1928, Scottish scientist Alexander Fleming noticed something accidentally. Mold growing in a petri dish had killed nearby bacteria. That discovery led to penicillin, the world's first true antibiotic. For the first time, doctors could reliably fight bacterial infections. However, Fleming's mold produced only tiny, unstable amounts of the drug. When World War II was raging, much more of it was needed to save infected soldiers. Enter Moldy Mary, Mary Hunt. She searched local markets for decaying fruit or produce and kept bringing it to her lab, hence her nickname from her colleagues. A moldy cantaloupe had a strain of the mold that produced 200 times more penicillin than Fleming's strain. And once mass production began in World War II, medicine changed forever. Other antibiotics followed. Millions upon millions of lives were saved. It's one of the greatest medical breakthroughs in human history. Number 5, television. Before this, information and entertainment were much more limited. People relied on newspapers, books, magazines, or live performances, and radio ruled the airwaves. Then came television. In the 1920s, Scottish inventor John Logie Baird, kind of sounds like Yogi Bear, demonstrated one of the first working television systems. At first, the image quality was terrible by modern standards. Tiny screens, flickering images, blurry faces, but people immediately realized this technology was revolutionary because now events, entertainment, speeches, wars, sports, and culture could be transmitted visually into people's homes. There was some resistance to it. In its birthplace in the UK, it was far too expensive, half an average person's annual salary. And then the government completely shut down broadcasting during World War II. They were worried about German bombers using it to track. And in America, for example, from the head of 20th Century Fox, Darryl Zanuck, famously said, "People will soon get tired of staring at a plywood box every night." President Roosevelt made history by being the first sitting president to appear on TV. And the famous presidential debate between Kennedy and Nixon in the 1960 election proved the massive power of TV over radio. Television helped create shared mass culture on an enormous scale. And honestly, even though the internet dominates today, television shaped the modern world psychologically for generations. Number 6, modern computing. This innovation may be one of the most important because modern computing affects almost everything we do. British mathematician Alan Turing helped lay the theoretical foundations for computer science itself. His idea of the Turing machine, or BOHM, became the conceptual bedrock of modern computing. Then, during World War II, British codebreakers used machines like Colossus to help crack encrypted German communications, saving millions of lives, especially in the Battle of the Atlantic, and by helping shorten the war in Europe by an estimated 2 to 4 years. These early computers were enormous, entire rooms full of machinery. By the way, my father took my brother and me to see an old computer system when we were young. It completely filled up a huge room. These machines represented the beginning of the digital age. However, a sad and in my opinion disgusting twist to this story is what happened to Turing after the war. In one of the most tragic examples of a nation turning against its own hero, he was criminally prosecuted for being gay, chemically castrated, and driven to an early death by the very government that he helped to save. As a massive fan of the story of Snow White, it is widely believed he ate a poisoned apple laced with cyanide, ending his own life at only age 41. Today, the world runs on computing. Phones, banking, the internet, AI, satellites, governments, business, communication, almost everything. Number 7, the World Wide Web. Before this, the internet was almost unusable. It was one of the biggest transformations of all, the World Wide Web. In 1989, British computer scientist Tim Berners-Lee created the foundations of the modern web while working at CERN, the European organization with the largest and most powerful particle accelerator ever built. You know, the one where they accelerate particles to almost the speed of light and smash them together to see if they can discover things. Before this, the internet existed, but was far more limited and difficult for ordinary people to use. Actually, I remember being overseas and being able to use electronic mail, email, for the first time in 1990, maybe 91. I could send messages to friends back at home in Canada and universities, and it got there instantly. This may sound mundane to you now, but it was revolutionary at the time. Before that, I sent letters by mail, you know, what people now call snail mail. This was before the World Wide Web really existed. Berners-Lee helped create HTTP, HTML, URLs, and the first web browser. It was called World Wide Web. Later it was renamed Nexus, to not be confusing. For the first time, information could be linked together and accessed globally in a simple visual system. The modern internet economy begins here. Social media, streaming, online shopping, YouTube, remote work, AI tools, all of it sits on top of foundations built by the web. And honestly, most people alive today probably can't even imagine a world without it. Number 8, radar. Radar is one of those inventions people rarely think about, even though modern civilization depends on it constantly. During the 1930s and World War II, British scientists pioneered practical radar systems capable of detecting incoming aircraft. This became critically important during the Battle of Britain. Radar gave defenders early warning before enemy planes arrived, so they could scramble theirs. And many historians believe it played a major role in Britain surviving the war. But radar didn't stop there. Today, it's used in aviation, weather forecasting, shipping, military defense, air traffic control, speed detection, satellites, and navigation systems. A perhaps not so popular use of it is in speed cameras and handheld radar guns used by police to issue speeding tickets. Ever get one of those? I remember a funny story I read years ago. A man received a speeding ticket in the mail with a picture of his car's license plate and a $50 fine. He took a picture of $50 and sent it to them. Then they sent a picture of handcuffs and he paid the fine. Anyhow, another invisible system quietly holding modern life together. So, when you look at the modern world, industrial production, railways, medicine, television, computers, the internet, global transportation, modern communication, Britain played a huge role in launching the age we now live in. And this is only a fraction of the innovations connected to the UK. So the next time you open a website, ride a train, take antibiotics, or check the weather, you might be using something that traces back here. Which of these inventions do you think changed the world the most? And which country should I cover next? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.